Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about adding, subtracting, and multiplying with a scalar with matrices. Here are the two problems that we'll do, and to make sure that we don't take ourselves too seriously, let's think about the fun question. What was a memorable toy that became a big fad when you were younger? Okay, so on the math section, you commonly see some sort of a matrix problem, and matrices are typically introduced in either Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. It's very common that you would see systems of equations taught closely with matrices. You can use a matrix to solve a system of equations. And so matrices aren't technically nested under systems, but they're very, very closely aligned in curriculum. What would you have to do with matrices? There's one standard that says add, subtract, and multiply with a scalar, and then another standard says multiply two matrices together. So the multiplying together, that will be a separate video, but this one is just tackling adding and subtracting in this first problem, and then subtracting along with the multiplying the scalar in the second problem. So let's talk first about what is a matrix. A matrix, let's say we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is an array of numbers that has rows and columns. Okay, so how many rows are there here? There are 2 rows, and there are 3 columns. Okay, so you count the number of rows, count the number of columns. It would be n rows and m columns. So the way in which you report the dimensions would be n by m. So this would be a 2 by 3 matrix. So that's a 2 by 3 matrix. Matrix meaning the singular, matrices meaning the plural. So matrices can help you solve complex problems in math. Those numbers represent different entries of, whatever type of problem that you're trying to figure out. In this case, if you had 3 sets of data of some sort and you wanted to add the first 2 together but then subtract off the last one, here's how you would do it. So adding and subtracting with matrices is very straightforward. It's just you go left to right with adding and subtracting. You would just, if we have a 2 by 2 plus a 2 by 2 minus a 2 by 2 matrix, we would just get a 2 by 2 as our answer for this. So I'm going to take this -4 plus 0, and that is just -4 that goes in that upper left place. 2 plus -4 is -2. -4 plus -5 is -9. And then 0 plus 0 is 0. Now that I've combined those two, I can bring this one down because we now need to subtract. The biggest thing to remember with subtraction is you must do -4 minus 0. A lot of times our brains really like to add numbers. They kind of it sort of defaults to adding. So -4 minus 0 is -4. -2 minus 6 is -8. And then -9 minus 6, -15. And 0 minus 6, -6. Final answer. So when we add and subtract, let's say you had like 1 and 2 plus 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 2 by 1 matrix. This is a 2 by 2 matrix. You cannot get an answer. So that equals nothing. In order to add and subtract, they must have the same dimensions for all of the matrices that are involved. All right, so now the second problem has not only subtraction, but there's also a scalar number on the outside of the second matrix. So we need to, let's just rewrite what we're going to do here. So we're going to have, because we have a 3x1 matrix and a 3x1 matrix, and I had a student give me that tip before. She said, oh, it's just like an L. You go how many rows down and then how many columns across? It's just like an L, 3x1. So rather than 1x3. So I know that my answer is going to be another 3x1. But what I'd like to do is rewrite this one before I get my final answer, just to make sure I'm really careful. So -3 times 2. Well, so I could either add a negative or I could subtract. Let's keep the subtraction just for the sake of working on that skill. So let's just go minus and then 6. And then 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times -6 is -18. Notice I'm not adding now, I'm subtracting. So now my final answer will be -12. -6 minus 6, -1 minus 18 is -19. And -4, this is where I recommend to students to write it out. That's a -4 minus a -18. That would be adding. So this is going to be a +14 as my final answer. So if you ever have a lot of negatives going on, just write it out and make sure you're confident with your answer. All right, so we have got some practice problems here. I chose 3 2x3 matrices, and there's a scalar outside of this addition process. So you would add and then, involve the scalar. Notice the parentheses. So why don't you pause the video and I will reveal the answers in just a moment. All right, answers. So the first one gives you a 2x3 matrix. The second one gives you a 3x2 matrix. So lastly, I'm going to leave you with a little quote. You are your home. That is great advice and probably something I would have appreciated hearing before going to college, going off to live in a new place. So I hope this video brought some sort of clarity to you, helped you in some way. If you'd like to keep up with new videos, feel free to subscribe, and we'd love to see your answer to the fun question in the comments. Have a good day.